Wonderful to be with you on NBL Now. 2-1, the series sits right now. We are one step closer to crowning the NBL 25 champion. Melbourne United, after a massive win on Sunday in Illawarra, now are back on their home floor on Wednesday to potentially steal the whole thing. But one thing we've learned in this series, home court means absolutely nothing. We're going to try and break down everything that we saw on Sunday and look ahead to what's coming up in the next day. I'm Jack Heverin, Derek Rucker, Brad Rosen, two men who, well, to be honest, I thought I got rid of both of them on Sunday, but here we are again. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, Jack. How are you, Jack? I'm back in Brisbane. I'm not well rested, but I'm ready to go.
No, definitely not, but it's this time of season where we just push on. Let's start with the Hawks, I think. There's a lot of praise to be given to Melbourne, and we'll get there very shortly. But let's start with the Hawks because the fourth quarter is winning time. We know that, particularly in the postseason. They're having some real problems closing out games, and the numbers don't lie. They were outscored 23-10 on Sunday across the series against Melbourne. It's now 84-51 in fourth quarters. What's going on down the stretch with these guys?
Well, I'll jump in first, Derek. I was trying to be the right nice guy and let Derek have a word, but he's obviously tired sitting in Brisbane, so I'll go first. Look, for me, 0 of 12 from the three-point line out of 19 shots in the fourth quarter. It's just not good enough, right? And when you're playing against Melbourne United, and I was about to say when you're playing against a Dellavedova the way he played, because he just controlled that whole game in the fourth, you just can't afford, and we mention it a lot in commentary, where the ball just didn't shift, and when it did, it was just a wild three. And I don't mind if that's happening. If they'd had already shot theirs and were making them during the game, they finished 8 of 36 from the three-point line. Now, out of those 36 shots, they only shot 73 for the game. So that is 50% of their shots are from the three-point line. And when you're shooting 22%, no, you're not going to win a championship series by doing that, Derek and Jack. And for me, just so you know, during the season, they normally shoot about 35% of their threes in a game. So I don't know why they went to that. I thought they learnt their mistakes come game one, but they went straight back there in game three, and they take a hit, and that's a massive hit going down 2-1.
Yeah, Brad, and this is a team that led the league in points in the paint throughout NBL 25, and they built that lead, that 9-point lead in the third quarter off the back of some good play. Darius Days was getting buckets inside. Froling was making his contribution. They were attacking the rim. But in the fourth quarter, I think they got a little bit too hungry, and they went for the knockout punch too early. And we saw that one sequence where they just bombed 3 after 3 after 3, and they didn't have any on-court guidance, no leadership to kind of say, put the ball on my hip, guys, get organized. This is what we're doing. We need to focus the ball and be more purposeful in attack. But also, let's give some credit to Melbourne United. We see them continually raising their level of defensive intensity. And this is several times now in the series where the Hawks haven't been able to respond and come up with big buckets. 10 points in the fourth quarter, Jack, is crazy.
Derek, they seem to have an ability, Melbourne, to have the game on their terms when it suits them. And I think we're seeing in this series, aren't we, that on their terms is slowing the thing right down and making sure that Illawarra can't score 100 points a game. They've just got this ability that when they need to, they go to a certain style of play, and Illawarra aren't handling it.
No, they're not. And a lot of it is due to, I believe, Jack, is that Melbourne are stung from last season. And I think they've really learned some lessons. They've learned some lessons on the offensive end as well about getting the ball in the right person's hands to ensure that we get good quality shots on as many possessions as possible. But defensively, some of the guys who we haven't kind of acclaimed as being good defenders are doing a good job in this series. Chris Golding's doing a nice job on the perimeter. Ian Clark has shown a level of intensity that we haven't seen on a regular basis from him defensively. And of course, you've seen Delly take on that responsibility in the absence of Shea. But also, Jack White got caught in some mismatches down on the block, and I thought he did a really good job against Sam Froling on isolated incidents. But overall, Melbourne United just look a little bit hungrier. And it's weird to say that because Illawarra, I believe, have been in control of the scoreboard for 2/3 of the series.
Yeah, look, I look at the Illawarra team and I sit back and I think, I can't believe this team scored 77. Like, you know, we were there at halftime and we looked at it and said, wow, this game's great. Like, it's up and down. We're looking, and they finished with 77. Now, obviously, that's on the back of a 10-point fourth quarter. But, you know, I go back 12 months and the number one thing I loved about Tasmania and that Scott Roth team is get the ball one side of the next, make good decisions and get it in the right people's hands. And I think the thing that caught up with Illawarra right now is they're playing the same brand of basketball that they were playing in round 1, round 7, round 15, round 19. And with a Melbourne United team, the way they're playing, and I completely agree with you, Derek, these guys are just, at the moment, it's the master teaching the apprentice on how to close games out. And that's where it's just so impressive. I can't believe I sort of say this about Matthew Dellavedova because I love the guy. What he's done throughout his whole career is unbelievable. I think that's the greatest game I've ever seen him play in the NBL. Now, when I say that's no I don't even know how I can say that because he plays so many good ones. But to see him literally point, you get there, you come to me, I'll do this, I'll finish it, I'll go that. Everyone, I've got you. Don't worry, I've got all of this. That was, I mean, it gives me goosebumps to talk about it as a point guard, watching that. That was one of the greatest performances I've seen to slow Illawarra out of the game, and I'll win it for you.
And Brad, it's interesting in this era of positionless basketball where, say, a point guard or a power forward, their roles have been diminished over time. It's good to see Dellavedova take on that traditional point guard mentality and mindset and really lead his team, keep the ball in his hands when he deems it necessary. And right now is paying dividends. Again, Illawarra have been in the lead most of this series, but when Melbourne United make their runs, they're really impactful towards winning.
Yeah.
Jack White bounced back in a big way. Scoreless in game 2, didn't take a field goal in game 2, had 20 points, 8 of 9 from the field. That shouldn't be lost on us as well, what happened on Sunday. On the way off, it's obviously been an emotional couple of days, but just looked like he might have just had a little whisper under his breath to, well, it wasn't me, so it had to be one of you two. What was going on?
Look, I'm going to be the first one to answer this one because massive fan of Jack White. And, you know, we were on the show last week and Derek gave him whatever, you know, Derek's doing these ratings of 2.798 It's like, you know, a decimal.
Looks like the Dewey Decimal System, doesn't it?
And I said that, you know, a guy of that caliber to be able to get 0 shots, you know, maybe he ranked him too high and should have been on the number of shots. Last night, I'm so happy to see what Jack White did because that is the Jack White that I loved watching play and love watching play. And, you know, whether that's at me or whatever, I take nothing from it and I'm cool with that. What I love the fact is, and you listen to all the commentators, everyone got on Jack and said, you need to be better. Why? Because he is better. He's just that damn good that when he plays like that, Melbourne don't lose. They don't lose. And the fact that he had 20, that is the Jack White that I watched play NBA, G Leagues, you know, Australia, dominated, you know, in the NBL recent when they won a title. And then, you know, he's in Duke. I just love the athleticism and the way that guy plays. And Derek, you know, you did a great call right there where you said he's now got to get the ball and go get something done. And he got it on the wing and took a big step middle and then just rose up over everyone and laid it up. Man, I could watch Jack White play like that every game. Massive fan and so glad. Now, the challenge, back it up again and get that chip for your team.
Yeah, that's correct. And that post-game spray that he directed at me and you, Brad, we're cool with that. We've seen it before. It doesn't faze us. Maybe the language was a little bit more colorful than we were used to, but we get it. We get it.
Have a listen to St. Derek.
Obviously, you guys aren't in my car when I and Derek ride down there. Together.
Hey, but we get it. Like he's fired up. He's just played a huge game after copping so much criticism in the lead up to that game. And he's a proud man. You know, he understands his talent. And it's disappointing, Brad. We've been there as athletes where we've failed and where we've let our teams down. And when you bounce back in the manner that he did and help your team win a game 3 on the road, when everybody had pretty much counted you out, you're entitled to a release of emotions and feel good about yourself. Now, with all that talent and athleticism that he has, harness it, play really smart in game 4. And if he performs to 80% of that potential that we saw Sunday, Melbourne United are raising the trophy
Yep.
Wednesday night.
Amen. Good call.
So at the time of recording, we haven't got any word from either Illawarra or Melbourne on the injury status of Trey Kell, who we'll get to in a moment. Shea, Dean Vickerman did speak on Monday night on Melbourne radio and said that Shea had a workout. He looked really, really good. They're still not at a point where they can make a decision as yet. We're not concussion experts, and we don't pretend to be. But it will be interesting to see what happens here with Shea and whether he does play game 4.
Well, I think they can actually hold off on him. I think right now, having that home court advantage and knowing that there is a game 5 and probably feeling pretty confident about going down to Wollongong now and being able to win a game. Do you need to risk Shea? I'm not sure it's worth it. We're looking at another 36 hours or so until we tip it off again in Melbourne. Rest him. And particularly important is they can kind of make their decision contingent upon what happens with Trey Kell. If Trey Kell is out, I'm sitting Illy out.
Yeah, I like where you're thinking. I come from a different angle where, as someone who's been in New South Wales, the rugby league side of things where CTE has been very big, and I know some people that have had it. I'm like, I don't want him to play. Like, to me, I don't care if it's game 1 or a grand final series as we're in, this championship series that we're in now. The fact that you are dealing with the health of someone, like to me, I can't even comment except to say, oh my God, whatever he needs, that's what needs to get behind him. And if he has to sit and not play until December, like halfway through next year, I don't mind, whatever that is. And I don't care what game it is, whatever it is. And that where it's, the doctors, the thing that worries me when I know it, this minuscule CTE, is that we don't know. That's what I sense. No one seems to have the answer. Oh, okay, pass this test, you're fine. It doesn't seem to be that way. And, we heard the other day where they said he passed the test, but then he had concussion-like symptoms. Like, so it just feels like, I don't want to say it's a guess because I would never disrespect a doctor like that. And that's why doctors are so good and we're lucky in our sport to have some of the best. But geez, it's scary. And the health of our players is the number one paramount.
But I thought, actually, without Illy in the lineup, I thought it helped Dean Vickerman with his rotations. They were really good. I thought he did an excellent job of substituting. And the other thing is, Melbourne United are now 8-12 over the past 3 seasons without Illy in the lineup. So there's a bit of each way with this one, right? Maybe they got their one victory without him and they may not win anymore. Who knows? I mean, the numbers are very weird with respect to Illy's absence. They don't favor United. But right now, the momentum in this series does favor United.
So that's Melbourne's injury conundrum. Illawarra's injury conundrum is Trey Kell. As I say, at the time of recording, we haven't heard anything. I highly doubt that we will hear anything from Illawarra. They've kept their cards pretty close to their chest all playoff series on a number of things. Can they... what happens if he doesn't play? What does that mean for Illawarra? Can they win without him?
Oh, look, the answer is everyone can win without anyone, right? That's what we know about this league. I sit here and think I cannot see how they can win without Trey Kell. He is just the head of the snake there. He's had, I know there's those words where it's the yo-yo series where he's been up and down and up and down. And if we go the right way, his next game is going to be fabulous. Every time they get 40 piece, he and Tyler Harvey, they don't seem to lose. The concern I have is if you take Trey Kell out, well, I think you got to play Sam Froling 38 minutes, right? And you've got to change your game plan. We can't be shooting 50% of our shots from the 3. We need to go inside. We need to get their bigs either in foul trouble or get scores. But right now, Trey, can you run? If you can run, you play. This is it. We've got 2 games left in the season and you've got a chance. Either team are going to win it, and Illawarra can only win it on their home floor. They have to take care of business in Melbourne. Derek, I'm saying play.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You're going out there, strapping that thing up and giving it your best. And I think it's important to show your teammates that you are committed to doing whatever it takes to try and help them win the game. Even if you're only out there for a couple of minutes, it can be a mental boost for the rest of the guys on that Hawks lineup. But Brad, say he can't move. Say he can't run like you asked. What does that starting lineup look like? Do you bring Dave O'Hickey in? Do you go with Lee maybe in the 2 guard and move Harvey over to the point? That's probably the next plan B or C that Tatum has to look at.
Yeah, look, for me, if that does happen, I probably would put Tyler in the 1. And actually, I'd start Darius Days. I thought he showed some stuff the other night that was nice. And I probably, try and get that matchup, that bully ball down low between him and Jack White. That was mouthwatering. I love that.
Yeah.
So for me, but you're right. And the key to that is if you got a player out, you want to know that early. You want to know that like literally an hour or two after tip-off, that guy's gone, let's go. This is what we're at now. This is the focus, rather than a Darius Days or a Davo or someone sitting there going, am I starting? Aren't I? What's my role? You don't want that in a do-or-die match that is the Illawarra Hawks.
Just on Sam Froling, and this has been a constant theme on this show during the championship series, why don't they just play Sam Froling for 38 minutes in Game 4? Because he seems to be almost unguardable, to be honest.
I thought they let United off the hook by not focusing more on Froling in the second half. And look, he did miss some little bunnies around the rim, but you just have to keep going at him and be persistent, similar to the type of persistence that Dellavedova has shown throughout the series when things don't go his way. But that's an individual effort from Dellavedova. The Hawks need to make a team concerted effort to make sure that Sam Froling feels included. And I thought they went away from him too much. I used the word underutilized in the second half to describe his performance. It wasn't necessarily his fault. But at the same time, the guards, you've got to slow that thing down and make sure Froling doesn't go possession after possession without getting a touch. He's unselfish. He'll move it on if he doesn't have a play.
Yeah.
But, they've just got to find the right approach to offensive basketball that includes Sam Froling.
I remember during the season, I think it was against Adelaide when he had that 30-piece, and he's like, I don't need a 30-piece, we just need to win. And he said, I think it was something, and don't quote me exact words, but along the lines of, I don't think it's great for our game if I'm getting that 30-piece for us because we need to do it by committee and everything. So I think about that, and it's just the type of player he is. I was on Sunday when we were commentating, I just kept saying the ball's got to go to him. But to me, it's not the matter that he has to take 15, 20, 25 shots. If the comes okay, I just feel it's so good when he touches the ball for a number of reasons. One, they got feet in the paint now. And it's always good to get the ball in the paint, move it. That's number one. Number two, the ball's going to get from one side to the next because usually when he gets it, he's either going to go to work down there or he's kicking opposite. And when you've got your shooters, I watched the game again and I've seen all these 3-point shots. There's a hand in their face. It was very rare they were wide open. But if Sam Froling's going to work down low, like Derek said, he's unselfish, cause that double, now kick, now Tyler Harvey, who unfortunately went 0-7, he's not going to do that again.
Yeah.
How he gets that extra second or two, now this guy has a 25-piece.
What I did notice in that game, especially in the second half, I thought Illawarra's spacing outside the 3-point line was really poor. They had guys too close to each other on the weak side a couple of times. Froling was double-teamed. Ulbrich was double-teamed a couple of times. And they just didn't have the cutter, repositioning, corner outlet. They didn't have all those spots filled appropriately based on where the ball was. So I think that's an area where they'll need to improve as well. And that will help Froling be able to go one-on-one down in the block.
Okay, so with all of this being said, what happens next? What happens on Wednesday night in Melbourne?
Forget Wednesday night. I'll see you guys Sunday. All right, we'll be in Wollongong.
You're just thinking through your wallet.
No, look, for me, I think Illawarra are going to get this. I've said the same thing from day one of this championship series. No team wins 2 in a row. I did say I thought Illawarra would win the first one. It would be home teams that win. So I will give that. But to me, I just think both teams are so good. We've seen that up and down. Even, I thought, Jack, was awesome what you said the other night. This is not quarter by quarter. It's minute by minute, right? And we've seen that this whole series. And I just think Illawarra are going to come back. They're angry. They're not happy. It's us versus them mentality. This is what they want, and they're going to steal that win. And I have no idea what's going to happen in Game 5. And what I am sure of, Derek's not going to agree with me. Over to you, Derek.
Well, I thought the Game 3 loss is too big, I think, for Illawarra to come back from based on all the other circumstances that we hadn't accounted for. most notably Trey Kell going down.
Yeah.
But there are some other trends that I think are going to be broken. I can't see Melbourne United dropping 4 straight games at home over 2 championship series. I just can't see that happening. I can't see them squandering another opportunity to win the championship in front of their home fans again, Jack. I would be astounded if Melbourne United don't raise a trophy Wednesday night. The other thing is, I think there's just an essence now and a belief amongst United that they got over a big hurdle, that they got themselves out of a deep, deep pool in which they were drowning. They've got their shoulders fully above the water now, and they're looking to swim.
It's all going to come down to Wednesday. It might be the last game of the season. If not, we're back in Illawarra on Sunday, and Brad gets to drive Derek to the game one more time.
Good luck, Melbourne. I hope they do okay. No, look, it'll be a ripper game, and I cannot wait. And look, for me, I wanted to go 5. I just want more basketball. That's what it's about. But if Melbourne are able to be successful, and I hear what Dee's saying there, like, they thoroughly deserve it. They've been an outstanding team.
Well, if you think your car ride was interesting, then my car ride had Felix Copes and Pete Hawley.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a car trip that I'm glad we didn't record. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's probably a bit too much for me, Jack. Just too much going on. Too much going on. I need a little bit more peace.
Well, Derek, see, the thing is Derek took 19 selfies on the way down, so we don't really talk.
And none of us are surprised by any of that. Great work, you two. A lot of fun we had on Sunday, obviously, but we shall wait and see what happens Wednesday. It might be the last time for the season, but thanks for joining us on NBL Now.
Thanks, Jack.
See you, Jack.